In progress.
Good afternoon and welcome to March 21st, 2023, our 2 o'clock Commissioner Agenda meeting. Let the record reflect that we have all 5 commissioners. Commissioner French is on Zoom. 4 of us are here in the chambers. I will start off. Was there any written testimony that was received for today's agenda? No. Okay, no written testimony was received for today's agenda, just to note that. And then I will start off with our open public forum time. So this is a time to speak on anything that is not on the agenda. It is 3 minutes. I believe I have a gentleman who wants to come down and speak, and I apologize because, okay, Brandon. Yes, so go ahead and come up. So there was 2 other people, I just want to clarify before you get started, 2 other people that wanted to testify, but they're allowing you to take their time?
Correct.
Okay, so you'll have 9 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, and so I'm just going to make sure, so that's Leah? Yes. Okay, and Abe? Okay, very good. You filled out the form, so we'll put that into our public record. And then I think we will see on the screen the 9 minutes, so.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And if you can just start with stating your name and address for the record.
My name is Brandon Ward. I live at 18814 West Burnett, which is a large tract agricultural property in Spokane County. I'm here because there's been some, I believe, illicit behavior occurring. We've, in the past 5 years, I've supplied documents showing dumping in the amount of, in the documents I gave this body last year, 2,000 yards approximately of dumping photos. And in fact, James Moore has received this document as well as numerous agencies. So last week, Don Bailey began dumping again. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. October 25th, he began dumping again, and he was flagged, not allowed to grade. He still put in an extra septic tank without a permit on that day and started grading and dumping material. He dumped 30 yards of gravel with fines and 10 yards of drain rock on that day, totaling 40 yards. He used the majority of the drain rock for his septic system that he did not have a permit for. I'm sorry, that's me. All right, take care of that. I sent the pictures to James Moore. James Moore subsequently told me that he's going to allow Don Bailey to resume work in order to get the property in compliance. So if you look at the photos I gave you, especially if you look at the back, second to last photo, you're going to see that the property has a lot greater problems than allowing him to put in a sidewalk or resume grading. Virtually all the materials that are court ordered to be removed by May 18th are still on site. To this date, in the past 7 months, 1 load of material has been removed. Okay, so that's a much greater concern. You go to the very last picture, you're going to see a crane truck parked in the barn with the bathroom. There's a crane truck poking out. That's a semi with a crane trailer. It says Bailey Construction on the side of that crane. It has been stored in that building for well over 2 years. It was just brought back last week. It disappeared on June 16th or June 13th of last year when the court order took place. He actually removed that from the property as he was court ordered to do so. The moment he was given permission to resume grading and installing a sidewalk, he brought back all of his heavy equipment and placed it back on the property because now he has, I guess, tacit approval to store them there from James Moore, the building official. Previously, James Moore told me that if he ever used this building commercially, he would condemn it. Don Bailey has now admitted in his court papers that he's been using it for 5 years commercially since 2019. Okay, so despite him using it commercially since 2019, it is James Moore's personal opinion that the most important thing is to allow him to pave. So if you look at the, I believe it's fourth and last, you'll see how much paving Don Bailey has done in the front of the building. There's 2 red arrows pointing at a very large area of concrete that was without a permit placed in front of the building. Additionally, those panels are placed in the exact places I have provided photos of toxic liquid dumping previously to James Moore, the Health Department, and the Department of Ecology. So he's actually covering up where he's dumped actual barrels and slip tanks of toxic liquids that he's brought on site. I have provided photos of that to James Moore. He is now assisting Don Bailey in hiding those by allowing him to pave more. That is a problem. They are going to be testing those soils this year. You'll see just before that, there's another photo showing the dirt that he's dumped. That puts him right there with the stuff he dumped in October on the 25th at 50 yards. You'll see his truck full of material that he brought in. As we go towards front, you'll see a retaining wall. Now, this was sent 4 days before James Moore's decision to allow him to put in a sidewalk and grade. This is a retaining wall, not a sidewalk. And in his email to me, it says, if you see anything other than a sidewalk being installed, please let me know. Well, he received this 4 days before. Somehow Mr. Bailey was able to convince him that this is a sidewalk, not a retaining wall. Do you see that there with the concrete railroad ties? Okay, so clearly Mr. Bailey is doing work that is not what he's describing to Mr. Moore as doing. And this is 20 feet long, it's 3 feet wide. I sent him a nice email showing exactly how much material's been moved. He's well over 50 yards again, and he cannot have a permit because he's in violation of 14.616.300. Particularly, he's being prosecuted for violating Section 4B. So he cannot have a permit at this time at all. They've also issued him a permit to complete the structure and turn it into a residence upstairs, okay? Permit processes were not followed. All right, you have to do the, what's that horrible eco document we have to fill out for all your windows saying what they are and your insulation and all those quantities. That hasn't been done. This thing has used windows. They're already installed. There's no way to determine what their R value is. So I find that all very interesting, and today I happened to flip over the back of his permit, and it says no final until approach situation is rectified. Mr. Bailey filed false information to obtain this permit in the first place. He used a cooperative road agreement, used Judy Gross's property adjacent, her prior cooperative road agreement, to achieve this document. He put a road through a property without a permit, was not on there, and in his site plan, he shows the road in a wildly different location. No one ever checked on that. And then when I brought it to their attention, they still didn't act on it. The fact that he used someone else's cooperative road agreement with a different name and a different parcel number was enough to void this permit. And it says right on the back of here, all details contained, I need glasses, within the application and permit documents of record submitted by the owner, applicant, or their authorized representative are presumed true and correct for the purpose of the department's review. Approvals and issuance of the permits based on inaccurate documentation by the owner, applicant, of their authorized authorized representative should not be construed to be an approval of a violation of the Spokane County building codes or the provisions of any ordinances of the Spokane County enforced by the department and shall not be valid. So those two situations in and of themselves invalidate this permit. Then we have the use. He was found to be building a residence on top and a change of use was ordered. So it was not a barn with a bathroom. And then his subsequent admittance that he's been using for 5 years commercially, again, voids this. This says, use limited to incidental residential activities, storage of private vehicles, farm equipment, hay storage, no mercantile, assembly, etc. uses without a change of use permit and development of an on-site fire flow per IBC-IFC. So when you look at that last picture I supplied, it shows a commercial vehicle stored in there. It's been stored in there for over 2 years. The main concern of compliance would be tearing down this building that is not a barn, has never been a barn, is not being used as a barn, and admittedly has been used commercially by Don Bailey and has been permitted with fraudulent information. And also, if you look on the back of the permit, it says if your construction project cumulatively disturbs 1 or more acres of land through clearing, grading, excavating, or stockpiling fill material, you may need construction stormwater permit coverage from the Washington State Department of Ecology. This applies even if the project is being constructed in phases of less than 1 acre. Spokane County cannot determine whether permit coverage is necessary. It is your responsibility to apply for coverage. You can look at the photos I supplied you. You'll see well over 1 acre has been graded, has been covered, has been removed from agricultural use. There is no agricultural use on the property. It is solely commercial. There is not a tractor on site. There is not a baler. There is not a seeder. There is nothing but commercial equipment. This building cannot stand. It is permitted fraudulently. It is void. It's clear. Its use is admitted as commercial. And I expect James Moore to follow through with what he said he was going to do and condemn the building and prevent further dumping of toxic soils and toxic liquids on LTA lands and commercial use. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you. I know that you have come before us before.
Correct.
With these same concerns. I think some of it is, the illegal dumping, and if they're now going to overlay on top of that, that's certainly an issue. So I'm going to look to Mr. Simmons. I know you've looked into this as well. Do we know what our remedies are at this point to have, would Mr. Moore need to go out to the property?
I don't have the most updated information. I know Chris Anderson, our civil, his team has been involved with the court process through district court. And if he wants to bring his deputy prosecuting attorney up here and give an update to the commissioners, we could do that, or we could do that another time.
And Deputy Prosecutor Mike Nelson is here. He is handling the district court matter on the code enforcement issue that is currently pending in court and can speak to that. I don't know that that necessarily covers every issue that was raised here today, but he's prepared to provide an update on that today or at another date as the board would prefer.
I will look to my further board members. Is today okay? Okay. Yeah, I think
Mike?
if he's here, then I think we'd like to go ahead and get an update.
Okay.
So he's coming up behind you, Mr. Ward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Afternoon, my name is Mike Nelson. I'm a deputy prosecutor right now. One of my assignments is code enforcement, and I'm handling the case that was originally filed in December of 2021, so it's about 15 months old. We have charged Mr. Bailey with unlawful storage and operating what's called a contractor's yard. And what a contractor's yard is when someone's using a piece of property for a commercial business in an area that's not zoned for that. And as that's what Mr. Ward has talked about, with seeing the commercial trucks and the operations out of the barn and the use of the storage in the barn. The other charge we have against him is a failure to screen or properly store building materials or refuse. And it's just, that's an aesthetic ordinance. Mr. Bailey has a lot of materials on there. Again, I believe Mr. Ward suspects they're involved in the commercial activity. And actually, Mr. Bailey has a license to operate a construction company, and that's what he appears to have been doing. The course of the prosecution has been, and I've only been handling this for about 2 months now, but we had Mr. Bailey entered into what we call an SOC, a stipulated order of continuance. And what an SOC is a defendant will agree to the police report, agree to the facts. And I think that's the order that Mr. Ward was talking about. I think he misconstrues what it is a little bit. It's just an agreement that when we get to trial, you're not going to object to admission of the police reports. It's not specifically an admission of guilt. In fact, they haven't been guilty of anything at the time they entered into the SOC. We give them an interval of time, usually 6 months, or in this case, a year, to come into compliance with the violations. And then if they don't come into compliance, we have a trial. And the trial is fairly abbreviated because they've already admitted to the police reports and all the facts. So they come in. And then, of course, they're allowed to put on their case. But it's not strictly an admission of guilt, but it's a mechanism that we use to enforce compliance short of going to trial and getting a criminal sanction entered. Last month, there was a pretrial date. I appeared with the attorney for Mr. Bailey. They asked for a continuance to push that date out, the drop-dead date for the compliance. I objected to it strenuously, but Mr. Bailey's attorney made an argument about the weather this year and all the snow and all the problems he's had coming into compliance, so it was continued until May. I'm not sure of the exact date. But at that time, he'll either be in compliance or will convict him of the charges. Technically, even if he is in compliance, the date of the offense is a date certain. So if we prove that he was in violation that day, we can get a conviction. Mr. Ward has offered to come into court and testify that not only is he's not in compliance, that he hasn't been during the whole duration of the time. That would be helpful, and I've met with Mr. Ward and we have discussed that. The problem is if we get a conviction, he's got 2 misdemeanor counts. The maximum penalty is 90 days in jail per count and $1,000 fine per count. And beyond that, we can't grant, district court can't grant equitable relief and say, you go out and you fix this, or you move this, or you dig this up, or you tear this down. All they can do is impose a criminal sanction. So we can use that, and we could ask for a maximum penalty on each count, and then say, stay sentenced and say, now unless you get this done within a certain interval of time, on such and such day, you're going to have to report to jail and do your 90 days, or in this case, it would be 180 days for both charges. But that's kind of the limitation we have.
So I have a question.
Certainly.
So while something like this is happening and we have a case on it, is there a way that our planning department and building department, ceases any permits for that property during that time?
Well, they can enter a stop work order. But as far as the violations go, the specific violations go, if we try to do anything during the pendency of the SOC, the defendant's going to come into court and say, well, Judge, I've signed an SOC, I've agreed to admit the facts in at trial, and now they just got to give me some time to come into compliance, and that's the problem.
But coming into compliance versus issuing new permits?
It doesn't immunize them. They do actually, one of the items they agree to in the SOC is not to commit any further violations. I have never done it, but I don't see any reason we could not add charges for new violations that aren't covered in the 2 pending charges. We have not done that, but I think we could. We can stack them on. I'm not sure how much difference it would make, but that is legally possible.
Okay.
Anything else?
Okay. No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, so this is still our open public forum, so I am going to open it up for anyone else who would like to come and testify. No, you had, yes, you did. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Yes. Sorry about that. I've got to stick to the rules, though. So is there anyone else that would like to testify at the open public hearing? Anyone online? Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify. Seeing no one online and no one in the audience, I will close the open public forum, and I will look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, move to approve items 2 and 3, including all sub-items on today's March 21st consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for items 2 and 3 and all sub-items as presented on today's agenda. Any further discussion? Commissioner Jordan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just very briefly on item 3A, I just wanted to reiterate what we talked about on Monday when this item was briefed, that this is really a technical fix to comply with the state statute relating to how the health officer is appointed. It's not a material change to the process of selecting the health officer, and I just wanted that to be clear for the record as I've gotten some questions about it. It's just coming into compliance that the law requires there be a kind of designated official to ministerially appoint that person after the health board votes by majority. So, thank you.
Very good, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. Okay, that will take us then to item number 4A on today's agenda, which is our public hearing items. 4A is to consider revising Spokane County Traffic Code number 46.61.4155.2 to add a 25-mile per hour speed limit on Ellis Street, 80th Avenue, and Cuba Street for the Spokane County Public Works Department. And Matt Zarakor, you're going to be presenting on all three of these today.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Commissioner.
you.
So this first one is a section of public road on the backside of the South Hill. And you can see here, it comes off the Palouse Highway, does a little loop and dead ends. It serves a number of residences, some around 10 or 12. And we were petitioned by the neighborhood to reduce the speed limit. Our traffic engineer went out and took a look, and he agreed. He said it's very narrow and has some horizontal and vertical components to it that would be appropriate to make it a 25-mile-an-hour road. And so we're proposing that, and we support that. And happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Any questions for Matt? Seeing none, then I will open up the public hearing on item number 4A as presented by staff. Anyone wishing to testify? Second call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 4A. See no one online, no one in the audience. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 4A. I will then close the public hearing and look to my fellow commissioners.
I move to accept the county engineer's recommendation in the matter of considering revising Spokane County Traffic Code number 46.61.4155.2 and add the 25-mile-per-hour speed limits on Ellis Street, 80th Avenue, and Cuba Street for Spokane County Public Works Department.
Second.
There we go. I got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, I am just going to clarify that on this street, I have my mother-in-law lives and my brother-in-law also lives on this street. They were not part of the people coming forward to ask for this. So I, checked with the fellow commissioners that we didn't believe it's a conflict of interest for me to vote. So I will be voting on this as well. Thank you. But I just want to put that in for the record. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think, Commissioner French, I heard you?
Yes, aye.
Thank you. Thank you. That passes unanimously. That will take us then to item number 4B, to consider vacation of county road, unnamed right-of-way, also known as Stubb Street County Engineers Road File Number 1745 for the Spokane County Public Works Department. I would look to Matt Zarakor for another presentation.
Thank you again, Commissioner. And the next one in front of us is a proposed vacation, and the road is named appropriately Stubb Street. And you can see here, it's on the north side of the Spokane urban area and just off of Newport Highway, north of Hawthorne. And you can tell from this aerial on the right side that Stubb Street is stubbed right into a commercial development where we don't anticipate any future extension of it. The property owners on each side approached us about vacating the right-of-way, and we support that. There is no current or future need for that public right-of-way, so we would recommend vacating it. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Zarakor? Seeing none, then I will, this is a public hearing item, so then I will open it up for public testimony for item number 4B as just presented by staff. Anyone wishing to testify? Second call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 4B. See no one online, no one in the audience. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 4B. See none, I will close the open public testimony and look to my fellow commissioners.
I move that we accept the county engineer's recommendation in regards to item 4B and consider the vacation of county road of unnamed right-of-way known as Stubb Street, County Engineer Road File Number 1745 for the Spokane County Public Works Department.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept item number 4B as just read. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That will then take us to item number 4C, another public hearing item, to consider vacation of county road unnamed right-of-way in the plat, first edition of City Gardens County Engineers Road File Number 2276 for the Spokane County Public Works Department. And Matt, I'll look to you for one more presentation.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. So this last one, we are again at the north end of Spokane's urban area. You can see on the aerial to the right, it's directly north of the new NSC corridor where it runs east-west between Highway 2 and 395. And this portion of right-of-way has never been opened. It's all common ownership to one owner. We also heard from the neighborhood to the north, Wandamere Estates, that they did not have any concerns about vacating this right-of-way. And there is no current or future public use for it. We anticipate the current owner will probably at some point subdivide the land or do some kind of development with it, and it would be appropriate that he puts in whatever road system's appropriate for the development at that time. So engineer's office supports the vacation and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Zarecor? Okay, seeing none, then this is another public hearing item. So this is public hearing item number 4C. I will open that up for anyone who wants to come and testify. Sir, I see you. So we will need to make sure that you fill out a yellow form. You can do it after. And then if you can state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Ron Wright. I'm actually the applicant in the initial application to vacate these right-of-ways. I am the managing member of the Friends of Fireside Lane, and we have like 8 members. Most of those members live on Fireside Lane, which is bordering this property, and this was a move by us so that we could control some development on the property. Ideally, we would have folded this into the HOA, but we couldn't make an agreement with them. These right-of-ways exist from a 1914 plat map and probably should have been vacated when the freeway came through. This was surplus property from WestDOT when they did an eminent domain to take over this property. And the Friends of Fireside Lane own it from WestDOT. And obviously, the right-of-ways serve no useful purpose. And as I believe the engineering department said, at some time, if it is subdivided, there will be different roadways in there, and those roadways are not going to serve any use to anybody. So I'm here to support the vacation of those, and if anybody has any specific questions about that, I'll be happy to answer.
No, thank you very much for coming down and testifying on behalf of that. And then, yes, if you can fill out the yellow form, that'd be great. Okay, so then I'll ask second call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 4C on today's agenda. Matt, I don't know. No, I think it just,
Yeah, I don't know the names of the underlying right-of-ways. They're unopened. But,
Okay.
There's an old plat that would have dedicated them, and there may or may not be a name on it. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. But materially, it's the ones we're looking at in the map here, and I believe they were properly described in the notice.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So third and final call for anyone wishing to testify on item 4C. So ma'am, if you want to testify, I would have you come down and testify. So,
I would just put forth that we'll be happy to double check and make sure that the description provided was accurate, and if not, we'll come back and amend it.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay. So with that, that's my third and final call for anyone wishing to testify. Seeing no one in the audience and no one online, I will close the public testimony and look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the county engineer's recommendation in the matter of item 4C and consider the vacation of county road unnamed right-of-way in the plat first addition to City Gardens, County Engineers Road File number 2276 for Spokane County Public Works Department.
Second.
Second.
I think Amber beat you, Mr. French. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and I apologize, it should say Commissioner Waldrop and Commissioner French. I apologize. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I think we'll just, Mr. Zeriko will make sure that all the descriptions are accurate. So, I'll ask in a minute. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner French, can we use your stamp for the record?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other items? That takes care of all the items on our agenda for today. Are there any other items to come before the board?
I believe that Jared had a miscellaneous he wanted to bring up under the proclamations.
I think we have 3 proclamations that, did everyone get a copy? Here.
Yes.
2 of them we reviewed earlier this week, related to National Public Health Week and Giving Joy Day in honor of Eastern Washington University. And then there's another proclamation in proclaiming April as Child Abuse Prevention Month, which I believe the county's done before. So I think Mr. Webley was looking for confirmation that we wanted to bring these all back for consideration and proclamation next Tuesday at our regular meeting.
I believe.
He's nodding.
He's nodding. Are you just concerned on the timing instead of waiting until Monday on the other one?
So just a quick review, there were 2 of them that were already considered yesterday. There was a change to the health district one
Oh, yeah.
because there was a little concern about it being pretty long. We didn't want to be here 20 minutes reading the proclamation, so I went back to the health district and they summarized it and condensed it down to the version that you see today. The Giving Joy one was the same as was approved yesterday. And then the Child Abuse Prevention Week was a brand new one. We just thought since we were doing 2, let's throw in a third, and not to mention the first week of April, you're not meeting and it's the month. So we wanted to get it done before the month and that's all.
Very
It was
good.
just wanting to be efficient with our proclamations.
Okay. Thank you. I think you have head nods to have them come forward for official adoption next week then.
Okay, and there will be somebody here to present and say a few words on each of them with those 3 organizations next week.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, that then, Mr. Simmons, anything else?
Nothing else, Commissioner.
Okay. So that will conclude our 2 o'clock Commissioners' agenda. And then, so we will adjourn that portion of the meeting. We now will continue the Monday, March 20th, 2023, 9 a.m. meeting to provide for an interview for our hearing examiner. So I'm not sure who's kind of leading that. Okay. So Ashley Cameron will be coming down to lead the discussion for us on, and this is in open session, correct? This interview is taking place in open session. Okay, very good. And so like I said, this is, again, just a continuation of our meeting yesterday to continue the meeting for having the interview for the hearing examiner. I do. I can share at least one. We have one copy.
They were emailed.